Today, we're talking about camera basics. Roll that intro.
Don't be a stranger.
So, we're going to talk about camera basics, and before we even get into camera basics, we need to understand exactly what a camera is. And to do that, we kind of need to compare the camera to our eyeballs. So a lot of people know about their eyeballs are being kind of like a lens themselves. A lot of people, if you don't know already, when light travels through your eyeballs, the image is flipped upside down on the inside of your eyeballs, and then our brain switches it so we actually see things in the right perspective. Same thing happens with cameras. This thing is called a camera obscura, and camera obscuras actually don't always have to be with a lens made of glass, but it's really something with what's called an aperture. It's kind of hot. Should I be wearing this jacket? Stay. Camera obscura is just like the eyeball. The light goes through the eyes, flips upside down, our brains fix it for us. Cameras do the same exact thing. Now, there are different kind of cameras. Way back in the day, we had several different kind of cameras, but the most used ones were SLR cameras, which currently now today we have what's called DSLR cameras, which is something that I'm using currently right now. That is a digital single lens reflex, and basically what that means is you are seeing through the eyepiece through the exact same lens with a series of mirrors that allow you to do so. If you wanted to learn a little bit more about an SLR camera and kind of how they work, there's actually a great video made by Gavin Free from the Slow-Mo Guys. That's a really cool video. He records it in slow-mo and actually kind of explains how shutter speed works. So that's always a good video to like reference to if you're kind of like confused on it. The most important things you need to know about cameras is your exposure. And with your exposure, you can adjust it by using three different things. You have the shutter speed, you have the aperture, and you have something called ISO. So we'll go over those individually. So currently, I have this SLR camera. This is actually the first DSLR camera I actually ever owned. This is a Canon Rebel T3i. It's a very old camera. I don't use it ever because I upgraded to another camera. So currently what I'm using right here is the Canon 5D Mark IV. And I love my 5D. My 5D has always been great, but any SLR camera will work, any DSLR camera, when you're first starting out. If you want to get into more professional series, obviously you're going to want to upgrade your camera. You're going to want something maybe like a 5D, or you might want something like maybe a 1DX, or currently how Canon and cameras in general are going, they're going towards mirrorless. So you can get an R5 or an R6 or just the EOS R. I primarily shoot Canon. I don't like Nikon. Nikon do produce phenomenal cameras, I have to say. Although I would argue that the glass in Canon lenses are a little bit better. And I feel like they're a little bit more user-friendly, especially for somebody who is starting out. But if you like Nikon, or if you practice with Nikon, by all means, obviously, shoot Nikon. Nikon is a great brand. I would recommend those two, but if you ask for my personal opinion, Canon is the best way to go, in my opinion. So first we're gonna talk about the camera. So like I said, we have the shutter, the aperture, and the ISO. And actually there's one more thing, but it doesn't have to do with the exposure. That fourth one is your color balance, or your white balance. So our eyeballs are actually very good at distinguishing what is a pure white. Our eyeballs naturally do it. Let's say we're in a room like a school, and they have those really big bulbs of light. They have those really big light bulbs that are in their ceilings. Those are more fluorescent colors, and they give off a certain color of light. Whereas in the sun, outside, the light is going to be a lot different. So the color temperature is measured in Kelvin. And depending on where you're at, you want to adjust your white balance to get the proper white. That way you don't have images that are over yellow, over blue. They look washed out in one certain color when they don't need to be. Things that are supposed to be like a natural white have a off yellow color or off blue color. So getting that color temperature is what you want. The sun is gonna have about 5,600 Kelvin. 5,600, and then you can go down to like 3,000 Kelvin. It really just depends on where you're going, but that's one of the most important things when shooting photo and film is just getting that white balance right. So things look natural, things look like they make sense. So that is white balance. So next thing, we're gonna talk about shutter speed. Shutter speed is basically just how fast the camera takes an image. And your shutter speed is actually gonna be with fractions of a second. So if you're shooting on manual mode, which you should be, manual mode is going to be the thing you're gonna use when you're using all three of these and customizing them. Manual mode is gonna be the best thing to use when learning how to run a DSLR camera. So shutter speed is gonna be set up in different fractions. So examples can be 1/20th. Your numerator is always gonna be 1, and then your denominator is gonna change. So it's gonna be 1/20, 1/50, 1/60, 1/200, 1/8000, whatever it may be. If that denominator is gonna be bigger in number, you're actually gonna be shooting a lot faster. So what happens is when you're shooting at a 50th of a second and you have a moving subject, you're gonna introduce something what's called motion blur, especially if that object is moving fast. If you increase the shutter speed so it's faster, so let's say 1/500th, what you're actually gonna do is you're gonna end up stopping them in time and you're gonna eliminate the motion blur. On the other hand, if you make a slower shutter, like 1/30th, or even go to even a quarter, your shutter is gonna be open for a quarter of a second, and they'll sound like these. There's two different kind of noises. So that's 1/4, and then adjusting this to 2500, it's much quicker. So that's the shutter speed. Now, depending on what you're shooting, you'll actually want to be careful with that, because if you want a little bit of motion blur or you're shooting in low light, you're obviously gonna need a longer shutter, because how cameras work is when light goes through the sensor collects the light. Now, the longer that sensor is open, the more light is introduced, and therefore your images are going to be brighter. So you can use shutter speed to compensate for the light. So let's say you were shooting something and you had your certain aperture and your certain ISO, and you need to adjust your brightness. You can do that with the shutter, but you need to be careful with the motion blur. In shutter speed, if you're shooting in low light, like I said, you're gonna want to use a much longer duration of a shutter speed. So we're talking a fourth to even a whole second of that shutter being open. And you want to use those for more when you're like in really, really dark situations. So a good example of that would be if you're shooting photos at night and you want to get some nice star trails, or you want to see trails of cars, the taillights, and they're just moving, and you get those nice like light streams. You want to use a longer shutter. And again, what that allows, longer shutter introduces more light. Your camera is going to capture it, and then when the shutter closes, camera finishes and gives you your image. When you're shooting something like sports, you want to use something a lot faster, something like a 500th, and you'll want to do that because you're going to be stopping the action. So if I got a football player, he's throwing the ball, or I have a receiver and he's catching the ball, you want to make sure you're shooting him at something that's pretty fast, because then you're not going to get any motion blur and you're going to see the player as they are, frozen in time. Those look a lot better when it comes to sports. You can get very creative and actually have motion blur intended in your images. You just make sure you're intentional with it. Another thing about shutter is there's actually two different things you need to know about the shutter speed when it comes to the motion blur. So starting at 1/30th of a second is when you're gonna start introducing motion blur. And at 1/25th of a second, you're actually gonna stop time. You're gonna start stopping the time, and things are just gonna start freezing. You can still get motion blur depending on how fast an object is working, but in general, if you want to stop things, you should shoot no slower than 1/25th. That space in between, I honestly don't know what it is. I honestly don't know what it does besides the shutter. It's kind of a weird mid-ground. The only reason why I know that is because back in college and university, I had a professor who taught us that, and I was actually very surprised. I didn't know that. It was actually kind of cool. Most of the time when people use compensation for their exposure in images, you're actually going to use what's called the aperture. So the aperture is basically what I would consider the iris of your lens, kind of like your eyeballs. Our eyeballs expand and contract depending on what situation we're in. If we're outside, your pupils are going to get really small. If you're inside in a darker environment, your eyes are going to be wider. Your pupils are going to be bigger. That's essentially what an aperture is. It allows and restricts the amount of light that goes into a camera. So you can do that to increase or decrease your exposure, making it brighter or darker. But what the aperture also does is it introduces depth of field. So currently I'm shooting at a f1.8, and f1.8 is the measurement we use for aperture, the f whatever it is. So currently I'm shooting at 1.8, and what that means is f1.8 is aperture that's really wide, and so it's allowing a lot of light, and it's making my background pretty blurry. You don't see a lot of detail behind me, and what that does is it allows your subject to actually pop out from the background and gives you depth of what is in front and what is in back. When your aperture is much higher, like let's say f22, what you're gonna do is you're gonna have a smaller hole, and you're gonna actually introduce more stuff in focus. There's really cool videos you can find online of how an aperture actually works. But basically, small hole, less light, bigger hole, more light, bigger hole also with shallow depth of field, smaller hole, bigger depth of field. So you'll want to use an f22 for something like a landscape. When you want to get a big shot, you want everything to be in focus, you want to use an f22 or something like that. With aperture, you want to have, for a setting like this, like a studio for example, or something like this in an interview, you want to use something that's going to be wider and you're going to have a shallow depth of field. That's one of the most cinematic things to do when it comes to using your aperture, is making sure you have a wide aperture like a 1.8, 1.2. 3.5 is kind of pushing it. You can get away with it as long as you're using the right focal length, but we won't get into that today. Next thing is the ISO. ISO is kind of the weird part of photo, because ISO originally was for film cameras, and it still is today, but film cameras use the physical film, the gelatin plasticky film thing, and depending on the kind of film you bought actually determined which ISO you use. ISO essentially is your camera's sensitivity to light. So if you have a lower ISO, your camera's going to be less sensitive, and the higher ISO, the more sensitive. In other words, the higher your ISO, the brighter your image is going to be, but there's a problem with that. Back in film cameras, you didn't have to worry about adjusting your ISO because the film was the same throughout the entire strip, so you didn't have to change it, and you only had to worry about your shutter and your aperture. With DSLR cameras, they're a little different, where you can adjust your ISO. The problem with adjusting your ISO, especially when you're racking it up something really high, like even 6400 of an ISO, you introduce something that's called digital noise. And it's basically when you make your image very fuzzy. And it's not a very, I wouldn't say it's the most exceptional thing when it comes to photos or videos. In videos, it's the worst. In photos, it's not as bad. The great thing about doing things digitally is you have the ability of removing it. The problem is sometimes it's not perfect and it makes your images look kind of weird. So you want to be careful with that. Depending on your camera, you can actually use certain ISOs and be completely fine. Depending on your camera, 6400 might be a horrible ISO. For a camera like the 5D, for example, 6400 ISO is actually pretty good. It doesn't include as much digital noise compared to other cameras, and it ultimately depends on how much megapixels are within the camera. And the camera sensor, it really depends. All right, and that concludes this video of camera basics. We'll go into more camera basics. We'll talk more about lenses and other things later on. So hit that like button, subscribe, like, comment, follow, share, do whatever you want. Have fun, and I will see you in the next video.